Hello, friends. A very warm welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the episode 288 of the Soul of Lions, a global talk show that celebrates the spirit of service and leadership within Lions International and proudly broadcasting across 180 plus countries. I am Lion Amit Maheshwari, the immediate past president of Lions Club of Mumbai Soul. Friends, we are here with a fun-filled episode of Soul of Lions. Fun-filled, yes, you heard it right, because we are today hosting an host, or rather a host, and I'm sure it's going to be fun talking to him because this guy keeps it very simple while explaining the complexities of various parts of life. Under the visionary leadership of line Dr. Raju Manwani, we have curated tonight's episode in a manner which puts a spotlight on this upcoming leader whose journey exemplifies passion, purpose, and the essence of Lionism. Our fabulous episodes are brought to with the support of our distinguished associates and sponsors, Greatex Corporate Services Limited, Property Anthem India Private Limited, DC Collection, Krishna Impacts, Vivan Garments, and Khanville Resort. Friends, generally we say the person who is coming doesn't need an introduction, but today's guest needs a detailed introduction because every time we meet him, he adds something to his introduction because every day, every month, every year, he adds accomplishments to his journey. And the latest one is he has been adjudged the best Leo district advisor within multiple 3231, and he has been recently elected as the president for his home club for the Lionstic year 2026-27. Friends, we are talking about a young and dynamic leader from District 3231A3 whose presence in the moment was felt from the first year of joining, not only because of his service activities, leadership qualities, but the way he puts things simply, his vision, his execution ability, as well as the operations at which, the scale at which he wants to take the entire Lionism service activities. Friends, no point guessing. As today's guest is Lion Navdeep Nigam, the president-elect for Lions Tech Year 2026-27 of Lions Club of Mumbai Soul.
And good evening.
Good evening, Navdeep. Congratulations for being elected as president for LY 26-27 and being adjudged the best Leo district advisor for this multiple awards held on 2nd of May. And Navdeep, before we start, I want to tell all the viewers that generally we get two guests in this 1 hour episode, but I think it was prudent to have you for the entire 1 hour because we don't want to end up with the statement like kuch baatein reh gayi thi, next time we will again try. And second thing, the moment the creative went out and we saw people's message because they knew that this time I'm going to be the one who will be trying to extract things out of you that how things can happen better and all. I'm filled with messages and trust me, there are messages from lines from district, even across globe. And when I went through those questions, I have written actually, but two questions which I think stands apart, which I want you to answer before we get into the format of the show. So one, I think at least 8 to 10 people have asked. I'm putting both together. You can answer it together. So 8 to 10 people have just asked, Navdeep, कैसे कर लेते हो इतना सब? And I think the second one, no point guessing. I think this seems to be the leaders which you already have interviewed, and all. The only question they are saying is, how does it feels to be on the other side?
Absolutely. I think firstly, thank you so much, Amit, for a very gracious introduction. And obviously, it's. I would like to address the second question first. It feels very, very. I actually thought about it. When the creator went out and stuff, I thought about it. How would it actually feel? It feels very surreal because I'm the one here answering questions, so I'm the one who has to frame a lot of things and stuff during the episode while talking rather than having everything ready before it all starts. But it's a good feeling. It's good to kind of like answer sometimes. It's good to kind of like express your thoughts also sometimes. But on your own show where you finished off more than 280 episodes, I think it feels a little bit strange. But yeah, it's a mixed feeling. So that's nice. And kaise kar le to itna kam, I guess I learned from all the tremendous inspirational leaders that we have, including yourself in the club. All of you guys managing so many amazing things with such amazing professional portfolios. I think it's just an inspiration for all of us younger ones also to kind of like take inspiration and try and drive ourselves also to go on and reach out to that particular level. So that's where the inspiration comes from.
Yeah, and Navdeep, good to put that disclaimer also. Since you have already done 280 episodes, maybe you are used to a certain pattern. Trust me, it will follow 0% of that pattern. So be ready the way other have to be ready with you. Navdeep,
Absolutely.
I think the entire district or even multiple and country knows about your Lionism achievements and what you bring to Lionism. I put it for the later part. Maybe people who don't know things about you, we wanted to bring that first. So everybody knows that okay, you are doing great in your professional life and all. But maybe if I rewind it and if you can talk about something about your childhood as well as your academic qualifications or educations and all.
Surely. So yeah, that's something which I always end up asking as the first question. It's something which I believe is very relative to all the leaders who come in. So thanks, Amit, for that question. Yes, rewinding it all back, it goes quite a lot of years ago. I basically was born in Kanpur, but I was brought up in Ahmedabad as my father used to work during that time for ONGC. So we had a transferable job, and that's where I completed my entire schooling. I was in St. Xavier's Loyola Hall. I think it's one of the best schools that I've ever seen in my entire tenure of life. The amount of facilities it had and everything that was there. I believe that is one of the major reasons which actually shaped me in the individual that I became today. Post that, of course, I finished off 10th standard from St. Xavier's, and then we came back to Bombay. And I finished off my 11th and 12th year from RE National College. And post that, of course, I did my bachelor's of engineering. So, bachelor's of technology and engineering from Bhopal in computer science and engineering, and then went on to the UK to do my master's in international business and management. I also culminated around 7 certifications post that in various fields of marketing, international business, in emerging economies, things like that. And yeah, post that, I worked in Europe for around 7 years in various domains for various companies. And post that, I came back to India in 2014 end ish. And that's when I started my career in India. I basically worked with a lot of companies and stuff, ranging from small startups to very established ones. And post that, I was actually working for a company called Equincy, where I had, I think, my longest tenure in my professional career of 6 years. And it was a France-based consultancy. I was working there as the analytics head. And very latest, I got my first C-suite level job at Gretex Corporate Services Limited, and been looking after that as CMO and CSO. And very recently, a month ago, I shifted my domain to the private equity investor relations and IPO originations at Gretex itself. So yeah, it's a good shift. That's how my career has been in terms of the professional, life as well as the academics. That's how it's been.
So, Navdeep, can we see the fire which we see you in you can be credited to ONGC for that regard? Because ultimately they would have started burning in very early stage in your life.
Honestly speaking, I think my school was the one which was mostly responsible for it, but ONGC gave a great push to it when I started playing my national levels of tennis. So I played national level tennis and represented India in soft tennis in around 18 World Championships. But ONGC was the first organization which actually gave me a push to play national level tennis, especially just because my father was also an employee, and ONGC does a lot for the employees. So I got my first scholarship play national tournaments from ONGC. So I think that is one of the major reasons I got a push playing some more years of lawn tennis compared to what I might have played with the economics that actually turns out while playing the game as expensive as tennis is. So yeah, good times.
Yeah. So Navdeep, while I wanted to touch upon this sports journey also, but since you pointed out, one thing I think most of the parents, maybe it has gone down a little bit now, but suddenly people feel like that a kid can be either good in academics or in sports. It doesn't go hand in hand, which pulls many people from pursuing those careers in sports and all because वो पहले था कि खेलोगे कूदोगे होगे खराब पढ़ोगे लिखोगे बनोगे नवाब and still that goes on. So suppose the people at the age of say 14, 15 just think about their next career transition post 10th and all. What would be your suggestions to people like them? And I'm sure you would have found many of those in our Leoism also, with generally of that age where career is about to pick up. In terms of sports and academics together, what would be your suggestion to them?
I think when I was growing up and I was playing, I think it was a very different era of how India was shaping up as a country. I grew up in the times of Michael Jordan's and Sachin Tendulkar, and seeing India grow at various levels. And you had the best athletes in the world also with a lot of inspiration that used to drive, obviously, people like you and us to kind of like play sport. In today's day and age, I believe it's become quite less. It's become centric to certain sports, but I think on the positive side, the best part about sport in today's day and age is the amount of money that is being pumped into sports, especially with the Indian contingent actually vouching for the Olympics also in the next 10 years. I think that's something which is going to be putting in a lot of money, as well as the infrastructure that's being built by the government. Something which I didn't have at one point in time. Of course, I was very lucky actually to play at certain places which had the infra for me to actually end up playing at the international. Uh, Coming to answer your question, I believe I would just tell them to follow their passion. It's extremely important to do that. I got selected to play for India while I was doing my engineering, and the first call that came to me was my father, and he was very particular about the fact that I should not be taking a break in engineering. And I said, yeah, okay. And I was the only person in the entire team who didn't take a break from studies and ended up, playing for India also. I think it's manageable, of course, but it requires a lot of commitment when it comes to sport. It's not something which is an easy job. When I think of it in today's day and age, if I end up playing 3 hours or 2 hours of tennis, it's just training for the next 3 days. And at that point in time, I was doing it for 6 hours, 7 hours a day, and yet doing college. So I think, in terms of mental makeup as well as in terms of grooming you as a personality, I think sport is extremely important. Even if you play competitive or not competitive, I think it's extremely important for people to actually get on with the outdoor sport activities also. So I would just recommend every 14, 15-year-old who's actually having or wanting to pursue a career in sports, if you are realistic enough and you started at an early age, 100% you should actually give it a go. But I think it's important to kind of like keep a little bit of a backup always ready. Even the big stalwarts who actually ended up playing the game had some sort of backup ready, of course, unless you're born as a prodigy like a Suryavanshi or like a Sachin. You obviously have that particular thing going. But even talk about greats of Indian cricket, Anil Kumble and Javagal Sringer, they were all engineers. Talk about the badminton players, the tennis players, they've all pursued education beautifully. So I think it's always good to maintain a balance and kind of like keep the hustle going. But one thing I would recommend to the parents, of course, in India is to kind of like put their kids at a very, very early age, because I think in India we mollycoddle the kids too long and think that they're too young even at the age of 10. But if you look at the foreign countries, they're all, they all start playing competitive tournaments at the age of 6 or 7. So I think that's something which we should look at.
That's good. I think few parents would have got means inspired by this, and they will be looking after their kids better in terms of sports also. So Navdeep, now coming back where exactly we actually met up, and the platform which has, I think, given a lot of things to both of us. How the journey started in Lionism, means what brought you into Lionism? Well, I believe you were busy with your work, your sports and all. So what actually made it happen?
So Amit, my family member has been associated with Lionism for a long time, and the mentor of this particular show, as well as our home club, Lion Dr. Raju Manwani, I know him since a very long time. Since the time he actually started his journey here in Bombay as a bachelor and an upcoming model. I don't know if a lot of people actually know about the model part, but but yeah, that's what he started as. And my nanny used to know him since that time. When I came to Bombay, of course, my one of my cousin Masis is a member of Lions Club Mumbai Soul, and I always used to come to know about how things are going, because most of the times at family functions she used to be absent, and the only excuse we used to get was that she's at a Lions function, so she can't come. That was the time we all used to curse Lionism quite a bit, just thinking that she's not able to attend family functions sometimes because they happen on weekends, and the functions at Lions also happen on weekends coincidentally. But with time, when I came to know the kind of things that Lionism was actually doing, the amount of impact it was making, honestly speaking, I had no aspirations of being a serving God. All I wanted to do was basically build my social profile. I think it's a very honest understanding that I had about joining the movement. Also, I was very particular and very strategic about the fact that when I wanted to contemplate doing an executive MBA from probably an Ivy League college, you need a good social profile. And when it comes to organizations in the world, there are a lot of people. I think there are too many organizations when it comes to NGOs, but when it comes to service organizations. Only Lions International and Teach for India are the ones that are considered by the Ivy League colleges. So building a profile in a institution like Lions Club, Lions International, it was something which was very important for me. At the same time, I knew that Lions Club of Mumbai's soul, when it came to the choosing of the club, was one of the most important clubs in terms of the gentry we had, in terms of the number of people who were associated, in terms of the kind of people associated. So that's how the entire decision was made, that this was what I wanted to do. But little did I know that I came to build a social profile, and a lot of other things also, in terms of even personality aspects got added on, and the kind of network I've built after being in this organization has been exemplary.
So Navdeep, here, can I ask that what is your attendance in family programs now with so many heads around you?
Oh,
How
don't
you
ask.
you
I
treat
think
your
that's
family?
that's one of the major factors of constant criticism that I get all the time, not only from the cousins, but also from my friends, and of course my immediate family. They all friends and cousins obviously abuse as much as they can, but the immediate family takes in all the sacrifices that they need to actually make, because a lot of times, when you're fully involved, you are not able to give time because you've got your job to do, and then post that you've got lands and viewers to attend. So a lot of times, obviously, I take a lot of time out, and I've just been thankful that they've been giving me a lot of time. Hopefully, after the next year, once I finish off with my presidency, I'll have a lot more time in my hands. Let's see.
I believe this statement is only for your immediate family because we know you will not have time even after next year. So nothing. Moving to that, while friends, family, all have been supportive and all. One question I know half of it I have already asked, but see, I also interact with various leaders across, and I keep on asking this thing that while Lion International has been talking about the youth membership coming, that below 45 bracket which is there, but I always felt that the space for working professionals have been very limited here because of the protocols, the formalities, and all. And I think when everybody go mum and they don't have the answer, they just have one answer, which is Navdeep Nikam, saying he's under 45, he's into surveys, he deals with Leos also, he deals with Lions also. So do you think you are becoming the right kind of idol, or you are making it tough for others?
Amit, I think to answer this particular question, it's not something. So firstly, just to touch upon the fact that I've been associated to Leo's, to all the viewers here, I've been the Leo District Advisor, which is obviously attending to the youth ranging from the age of 12 to 30. So I've been the advisor to them which is obviously the youth wing for Lions International. But honestly, when it comes to Lions International, which is obviously the parent wing, the main wing of Lions International, I think. Uh, One of the main questions that we still don't ask is why Leo or why Lion? I think that's one of the major reasons why a lot of people sometimes getting into the organization also don't find a purpose or don't find value. I think these are two things which are extremely important. Either you find value, either you find purpose. Both of them will keep you in the organization for a long time. A lot of us basically have been a part of the organization and have been constantly contributing because of that particular reason. You belong to a bank, and little did I know that you can organize unbelievable kind of events. I had never thought of it. With no background, I belong to an analytics, computer science, engineering background and stuff, and now into the capital markets. And little did I know that I could do so much amount of mentoring for the youth who come from, I don't know, more than 20 to 30 different walks of life. So I think it's extremely important for people to understand that it's not something that is an organization which is only one particular dimension. It has a lot of dimensions, and because of that, a lot of people can end up learning a lot of things here in this particular organization. And I think that's the only thing I try to propagate, because youth infusion ultimately is going to be extremely important. People who let's just be honest, the people who ended up joining Lionism at one point in time were very service oriented. The kinds you and I'm 100% sure can never be, with the kind of capitalization that actually happened in the country, and we ended up joining Lionism now. That kind of spirit to come takes a lot, and a lot of people who joined and are now in the 60s or the 70s joined with a lot of spirit of service. For us, obviously, it's a very potent and an important question to understand that what is it in for us in the organization. And I think once you understand that, it's obviously much more comfortable to be a part of the organization. As an individual, that is all I can do. I just try and propagate what I can, try and understand what people want to do, what professions they come from, what background they belong to, and then just try and give them the kind of solutions I probably might think of if I would have belonged to their profession and would have wanted to join Liaism. So that's all I try to do. But I think it's important for all of us to kind of like spread this particular message so that more and more people can be a part of this organization and can actually get a lot more in terms of offerings.
Navdeep, since you touch upon the Leo part, just wanted to understand that we have seen tremendous growth in the count of Leos which we have in our district, in our home club also. I think it has got 4 to 5 times. Uh, what is your view? You have been, say, associated with Leos as a district Leo advisor, as a club Leo advisor, and we have seen a lot of churn also. So just wanted to, while you can cover the things, we will be happy to hear. 2 points I just specifically wanted to understand was one, as you said, how many Leos, the young people, are coming for social profile? Second is what actually they should look for. If they are not looking for a social profile, should they look for a platform which helps them to do service, or a platform which allows them to find new people where they learn? I think in one of your statement you touched upon that it helps in personality development also. So,
Yeah.
so when you talk about, say, we said why Leo, why Lions. So if some guys say at age of 15, 17, or maybe we do 18 plus in India, what would be your experience as well as your rationale to someone younger that why Leo?
See, it's very simple. Honestly, Amit, a lot of things have gotten driven now with the kind of education system that we have. Very recently, if you talk about colleges, especially the ones who are offering graduation courses and stuff and the bachelor courses, they have gotten one particular 3 month to 6 month slot, which basically is now called Community Engagement Program. It's an official installment that a lot of big colleges have, including NMIMS very recently also. That automatically drives people to kind of like take internships for a social organization which is registered and probably find that. That obviously pushes them to kind of like do this. Social profile building is something which I believe every single individual should do. I mean, if you look at the top of the top notch industrialist also, even if you know probably a Ratan Tata, so a late Ratan Tata, God rest his soul, but even if you talk about him, so many things accomplished on the professional side, on the industrial side, but at the same time, the similar amount of impact that he actually caused when it came to the social profile is something which made him, a larger than life individual as a philanthropist. At the same time, when it comes to these kids, I think Leo, has, as I mentioned, a 360 dimension. It is not only a service-based organization. It is not only a leadership-based organization. It's not only a fellowship-based organization. It's a culmination of all. So just to give you an example, very recently we organized a flea market. All the Leos organized a flea market. More than 90 or 100 Leos together working, coming from different walks of life. They were basically organizing a flea market, which no one in their wildest dreams would have thought of that they would be doing at one point in time in their lives. For 2 days, we had more than 5,000 people attending. No one knew that these guys are not vendors, but just Leos coming from different walks of life. The Leo district president is a brand head of a brand called Kalpadru, which is into construction, so no correlation. The treasurer of the district is basically a person working with Temasek, which is one of the biggest organizations in the world when it comes to capital advisory. The secretary is a person working in M&A consulting in KPMG. Me as the advisor, I'm working to capital markets here. So none of them basically having any prior experience, but just basically working together, understanding various kinds of things in Leos and having different experiences. Little did we know that the local politicians and the local cooperators themselves made a visit to Fleo. We had great understandings and relations with the local police out there who helped us out in a lot of things, the local hospitals who gave us the ambulances for free, and a lot of shopkeepers or entrepreneurs who basically wanted to put up their stalls in terms of product offerings. More than 86 stalls sold only on the basis of digital marketing, which also gave a lot of people who are wanting to do probably courses in digital marketing and were a part of this particular team. They now came to know what is the kind of ROI that they need to do to kind of like run this kind of a facility or to probably organize an event like this. So what I mean to say is the avenues of learning are so tremendous that you just basically end up becoming a leader automatically. Just yesterday we finished off the yearly awards of the district, and there's this guy called Manan Gokani who's probably just 18 years old, and he ended up getting the best debutant Leo award because he was the one who organized 16 brands who came and collaborated with us at Fleo. You know, and I'm not talking small brands. I'm talking brands like Ruffles, Lay's, and I'm talking about brands like Pepsi. You know, so many brands just because they had a particular infrastructure in place in college. They organized annual events there, and they just basically kept relations with them. And probably, I don't know, in a span of 4 to 5 years, he might be a brand head at one of these marketing giant companies. So, you know, that's how the entire shaping happens. Because, and this is just one example. You know, we did very recently we did a youth parliament where everyone had to be dressed up like the politicians and stuff, and then ultimately have a proper agenda to kind of like talk to the speaker, only speak during their allotted time, talk about geopolitics, talk about the Indian politics, how things are going in the country, what are the the things that they need. All these things you don't get learned in college or school. It's not a part of that. You don't get real life experiences. I just believe that if you join such organizations rather than playing video games at home, I think it's a much better time of something that you can use. And the best part, yesterday, if one person was winning an award, no matter what club you belong to, everyone was dancing along with it. So it's almost like everyone was celebrating. So it's a bunch of 60, 70 friends, all of them getting awards and all of them dancing at each other's, although they don't even belong to the same club. So I think that's the kind of shaping up that actually happens.
I fully agree with you, Navdeep. So I think it's team building, and more important than that, I think it's the relationship building, which happens during those years because you are still clear in your mind. You are still not into complexities of life and all. So I think that has been a wonderful platform, and I must say that in last 4 years, 5 years, the district got this platform much elevated because there was a mentor like you who supported and guided the Leos all across. Maybe I can be one Leo again. But Navdeep, now coming to the point which, at least being a part of Lions Club of Mumbai Soul, I think
Yeah.
each and every member at club level is thinking that we have a gem in our club, but we don't get enough of him. So the only way to have a larger pie of Navdeep Nigam, I think the only option is to make him the president so he can't take LOAs from meetings and all. So jokes apart, I think the entire district is looking upon you because you are going to lead one of the larger clubs, the well-known clubs in the district. Can, while at a club level, we would have heard your plan, policies, and everything, but if you can just sum up in smaller, because the plans are too large. So if you can just state what your thoughts about the coming year and what's in store.
So I think, honestly, Amit, my journey in Lionism has been very interesting because obviously I've gotten a chance to kind of like interact with leaders like yourself, Gaurav, and I had a chance to work under you guys. And at the same time, I've seen how, stalwarts like, say, Asai Prasad sir or Ajay Arora sir or Raju Manwani, how they operate. Because obviously the tenure is very different, but at the same time, they've got a lot of qualities where all of them operate in a different manner. But at the same time, I've gotten a lot of exposure to the Leos also. So with the entire, lands are very interesting and at the same time intriguing. I think my plans and policies are more towards the concept of firstly making the club extremely, extremely popular. Organizations like Lions Club of Mumbai Soul have done tremendous amount of work in the last 25 years, and for a lot of people to not know about these organizations even now is, I believe, a pity. Not only for the organization but also for the people out there, because a lot of them even now require a lot of help. We see that at various kinds of avenues, and an organization like Soul obviously needs to be known. My plan basically is to liaise with a lot of organizations apart from Soul also to kind of like culminate service and take them up to a very accentuated level. Scalability is, I believe, something which automatically provides you visibility. It provides you a lot of credibility. So I think that is something which I want to do with a lot of credible organizations who are doing great amount of work. And I believe there's no point in not using their support while offering our own expertise and culminating it together so that people can benefit ultimately, because the ultimate beneficiaries are all going to be help out. So I think that is the one particular aspect that I am trying to do when it comes to service, liaising with a lot of organizations. One concept that I'm kind of flicking off from the Leos is obviously the twinning aspect. I've seen it very less in Lionism, and I believe that's a very, very wrong concept to have. because a lot of people in Lionism have come with such great ideas. They've got such great minds, and I think it's time that all of us, kind of like start working together, rather than just club on club basis, so that certain areas where the club is are catered. And I think for that, I'm also going to be launching a presidential coalition program where we do something together. Every single club has an understanding of working together and making the projects bigger and bigger. Uh, so the twinning with obviously the fellow clubs is something which is a great aspect that I believe for service also and for fellowship. When it comes to fellowship, I think Soul has been blessed to be very much being a one-stop for the Bollywood industry. A lot of times we've had great relations with them. We still continue to have them, in the Soul Gold Award section. So I plan to initiate that particular part in a manner which is obviously at least 3 to 4x compared to what we've done before. That again gives us a lot of visibility, because having visibility in every walk of life is extremely important, so that an organization can technically have support on every front, and at the same time we can also contribute and work together with such organizations. At the same time, it's a time where influencers, digital marketing, and everything else it's just basically in the news. It's almost become like a second nature of life. So I've been in touch with a lot of influencers and stuff. We are formulating a lot of programs to kind of like get them on board also and contribute to the kind of service that we do, as well as the kind of leadership that we do. I'm also trying to build a major business offering for a lot of people, to attract a lot more intellectual, capable people in the organization. Sometimes I've observed, it's not something which is all the time, but sometimes I've definitely observed that when we go monotonous in our approach in terms of conducting programs, the professional, intellectual people kind of find less value, and sometimes either drop out of the clubs or the organization, or probably don't come or join. And I believe that is something which I want to break this year. Somehow want to tell them that it's a very holistic organization, which it definitely is, because if it wouldn't have been, then probably all of us would have not been a part of it till date. And I believe that is something which all of us can do together. So with the combination of everything that is there in Mumbai Soul, I just want to exploit everything in the best possible manner as much as I can, and try and make it one of the biggest years as the club like Soul deserves.
Navdeep, when we come to Soul, I think there are 2 points which are being say highlighted or maybe noticed in the district. So kudos to the past president and the nomination committee. I think this would be the third year in the running where the entire PSTVP will be that so-called youth member below 45 years. But what would be your thought process? And I think the second part is the number of members who have joined or come back to Soul. I think in 2.5 years, we have seen the number doubling. So while the club is promoting its youth member, the new member who has come up, who come with their thought, brings new idea. On the same time, they are joining new member, adding new members, while the majority of the clubs are struggling on both counts. They're finding it difficult to add members, and even if they are able to add members, they're finding it difficult to add the youth member. And the clubs which are 25, 27-year old are suddenly becoming, while they are intent to do things, but obviously with age catching up, physically sometimes it becomes difficult. So while your plans might be confined to Soul for the moment, but generally seeing this entire Lionism for last 8-10 years, we have seen the COVID time and all. What would be your thought process? One, how to attract youth members. Second, the Leo to Lion conversion. I think that is a bigger piece which we are missing. I think we get these huge talents, then they get stuck up with careers, and then for next 10-15 years the priority changes, and after 20 years again it's a restart, because then they will start comparing things how it was in Leos and how the current Lionism works. So what would be your thought on, say, 3 parts? One is the normal membership growth, second is growth with youth, and if I may add, the female membership, which I believe while the district is doing better than the rest of the world, but still there is a chance to improve. And third would be the conversion from Leo to Lions, because you are advising one of the larger Leo clubs in the district as well as the district.
Absolutely. I think, firstly, kudos to you and Gaurav for actually reviving the membership at Soul also, because we had a major drop during the COVID times. Of course, people opting out because of obviously multitude of reasons and stuff. But at the same time, reviving this particular membership has just showcased to us that just doing things in a very collective and a beautifully administered manner can actually attract a lot of members. Very rightly put by you, that the SWOT analysis of the club is extremely important in terms of catering to the members in the best possible manner. So as you mentioned that we've got a lot of members who are coming into the club, and we've got a lot of youth membership that we are promoting. We always talk about this part, and I believe Soul has to be very proud in terms of being one of the clubs who has taken this particular part, done approach to do that. But we always don't end up mentioning, which I would obviously like to mention, that we came into this position of probably lining up the next 4 or 5 years with youthful PST VPs only on accounts of these tenured fantastic members that we've had over the years. They are the ones who enabled us to do this. They took a backseat themselves. They said, we look after the committees that are being formed. And I'm very proud to say that, even during your time or Savana's time or Gaurav's time, or probably in my time next year, we all have that, we all have a secretary team, for example, and we've got joint secretaries, but we've always got an advisor to the secretary who's obviously a tenured member of Lions. Same for the treasurer section, same for the president, for everyone. And I believe one of the major reasons why Soul has grown in terms of membership also is because of the involvement of these stalwarts of the club who have given so much, who still continue to give so much into the club. I think, the entire utilization of both the kind of minds that we have is the only way to move forward. And, honestly, when I have conversations outside, when it comes to membership teams for the district also, or for the clubs outside, everyone's facing, an aging problem. And I believe it's extremely important to kind of put it out there. So what I'm trying to do during my year also is, be very flexible in terms of putting out the stories, in terms of putting out the case studies on how we have managed these challenges, so that other clubs can also take a leaf out of this. We already have 2 fantastic clubs in the form of Mumbai Royals and Mumbai Shelter, whom we are going to be mentoring anyways to counter this particular problem if they face something similar. And at the same time, I believe more amount of mentorship programs that we run across as individuals, as much as we can, or probably guide the clubs that we have across, will also happen because of the twinning program that I'm wanting to run along with the presidential coalition program. All of these things said and done together are the only way you can actually move forward when it comes to membership. So that's about the normal membership. I think that's something which obviously we should go out and do. One last thing for the normal membership, I believe every single club in this fabulous district has a tremendously rich legacy, but we very little number of times, unfortunately, touch upon it. That's what I'm doing at Soul. Probably once I touch upon the things in Soul, a lot of other clubs also will get inspired and look into the books that probably are having a lot of dust on it right now from the past 10 years, 20 years since they existed, and start reviving projects. I was I'm very happy to say that day before yesterday, when we were having our programs, I was talking to some of the stalwart members in the club, and I told them that you've got your programs ready, aren't you? Because when you conducted your programs during your presidential year, I want the photographs. So they said real वाले photographs हैं हमारे वहाँ पे उस टाइम पे खींच के print होते थे. तो मैंने बोला कि very recently there was a Mother's Day that took place, and I showed them a photograph of my late Dadi, and my father wanted to put a post of Mother's Day, and how I converted Dadi's photograph into a very real life through an AI tool today, and I put it along with that, and I, he posted that photograph and stuff. So that's similar to what we can do. Rolling out magazines in terms of wanting to read things, probably have annual reports of the club, which obviously gives it a great credential in terms of running as a proper organization. All these things are extremely important, and that's how I'm going to be moving ahead when it comes to normal membership. For Leo to Lion, I've already addressed it with a lot of times to the Lions also. We need to give them a lot more offerings, or give them a lot more incentive. Sorry. Sometimes, when we think about it, we don't really realize that they are ultimately kids trying to build their careers, in the age of 20 to 25, 30, and, almost by the time they turn 30, of course, a lot of them have had a lot more responsibilities in life. But while they're building up, converting from Leo to Lion obviously works on incentive. Honestly, there's a huge gap when it comes to, you've been a part of Leo, when it comes to the ecosystem that the Leos have developed in today's day and age, and the Lions are developing. And that's the gap where I believe people like you and me, we are the ones who would need to bridge that gap, close that gap, so that people find that they've got something to look forward to if they convert. And one of the major initiatives that I'm actually doing this year from Lions Club of Mumbai Soul is basically giving a free service twinning to each Leo club from the entire district of 323-183 for each service project that we do. They don't have to spend any amount of money, but they can just come and basically have a look at the projects that we conduct, how we do it, and how feasibly potent, more potent can we be compared to them sometimes. And I think that's something which will drive them, to kind of get a chance to learn something. Even just conducting mentoring sessions, which is something again which is on my head, to conduct mentoring sessions with stalwarts like probably you. For me or for a lot of Lions, you're just basically our friend, Amit, but we all know that, professionally what pedigree you hold, or for that matter, Raju sir, or for that matter, my first VP, Devesh, or, our club member, Alok sir, or a lot of people, our current president, Gaurav, being an entrepreneur himself. So a lot of these profiles are things which the youth is extremely important, very, very inspired by, and they want to associate to. But again, we just don't market the fact that, we've got such stalwart people who are there in the organization, then you can come and liaise with them. We just merely use the word networking. And networking can technically be used by anyone. And they can say that you can come and network. But if you don't put out the profiles who are out there, how will anyone come to know? So that is also one more thing that I'm doing, trying to motivate the Leos to someday then convert into Lions, so that they know that, okay, whatever they were doing in Leo, probably if they were doing an X project in Leo at the scale of 10, they can probably scale it up to 50 or 100, because they've got now a stalwart group of people who will be backing them as Lions. So that's the natural transition that I want to happen, because only that is the way how the Leos will stay connected to Lions and probably then transition in a very easy manner rather than thinking about anything else. And that's the only way I think it should be. And for the women, I think, I think last year when International started off with the She Shakti program, I think it was a fantastic initiative. I believe it should no more be a privileged program for the females, and everyone should get an entry. Even if Lions International has to spend some more money, with their administrative budget, just to kind of like give that particular program a push. I think no one does work better than women. I mean, we've seen it in your year, in this year. Whatever projects, honestly, we've given to anyone who's worked in the feminine side in Soul, those projects have aced out much better than compared to what we've been able to pull off. Women are naturally very thorough in what they end up doing. So I think, it's extremely important for us to push them, of course, and give them a lot of recognition also with these programs. So yeah, that's a little bit of a planning that I have. And lastly, is of course using technology to kind of like get the best results. You did it, Gaurav did it, by doing a proper SWOT analysis in terms of knowing our club. What are we catering to? Who are we catering to? What do they like? Why do they want to come into the club? And if they are coming, what kind of programs do they like? What do they want to do? Because I believe knowing all of these things before the year starts, you can, when you present something which is going to be there, every single person should have something on the list of the calendar that they can associate to. And only then they'll be like, okay, yeah, even my point of view has been considered, and they would love to come to that particular program also. So yeah, so that's a little bit that I'm trying to do. Let's just see how it materializes.
Thanks, Navdeep. Navdeep, while you were talking, I just got a ping. I think there is a message. The full name is not there. The initials seems to be G and M. And he is just trying to ask you that while you talked about the twinning with Leo clubs and all, what are the plans to do twinning with Lions Club in your zone or region? I think he's interested more into that. So any plans to do twinning projects with other clubs in the zone?
Oh yes, absolutely. In fact, today itself we had a zone, WhatsApp group that was made, and my first greeting message was obviously wishing you and Gaurav for your RC and the ZC post that you guys have taken for next year. But the third line that I mentioned in that particular message was looking forward to liaising with each of the PSP VPs of my fellow zone clubs, as well as the entire clubs of the district. So yes, of course, very, very much interested in obviously doing the doing with all the Lions clubs.
So Navdeep, does GM means the one we just talked about? Maybe it came from him only. But Navdeep, one from my side. means see, I have been with Leos, and then for a larger number of years I was out and come back. Somehow I get confused. I'm not saying others are confused, but suddenly we are not very sure what Lions are all about or what we intend to do. So one side we do an LBN, making it to be the business network, saying it will bring more members. We talk about service, then we talk about fellowship, then we talk about marketing, the reach out and all. Then we have leadership events and all. While I know that okay, everything is important, but from your perspective, what should, in terms of priority, what should become a priority?
So, Amit, as much as these concepts are interlinked, I think service is the very core of the organization. That is what we should concentrate on always. Lions Club has continued for more than 100 years, and the very core reason it is that it has been able to solve problems and create impact in society. That is the only way we gain credibility, because of which people end up joining us. They end up associating with us. That is when the entire concept of leadership starts, or networking starts, or business starts. So if you do service at a particular level, especially with the CSRs getting so mandatory now, everyone wanting to become philanthropists and wanting to contribute towards the society also, service should always be a core. And then I believe should be the concept of marketing those services, because it's not about glorifying the service that you're doing, but it's more importantly telling the people out there that we are here to help. If you want any sort of help, you should contact us and we'll be there. It's almost like a helpline that a police station does out, or probably a hospital pulls out, or probably a fire brigade does that. Similar to the fact that Lions is an organization which we should obviously put out as a very, very glorified service organization, as we've been able to impact so many lives over the years. Service should definitely be at the core. Marketing can follow. Once both of them work together at the, once and everyone knows about it, the membership will automatically come in. Once the membership comes in, we can open the avenues of leadership, fellowship, and networking, and everything can basically coexist in the best possible manner, I think.
Got it, Navdeep. I believe I remember 2020-21, you were the marketing chairperson in Lions Club of Mumbai Soul. And one line I think which you coined that time, I still use it without telling you, but it was more like that marketing is not to impress but to inspire. And I think you rightly pointed that out well. That doing so, I think gone are the days when you used to say that if the right hand does service, left hand should know. And these has come the days when you say jungle mein more nacha kisne dekha. So maybe rightly pointed out. I think many of our clubs, while the older clubs, as you said, people who come in 80s and 90s, or maybe who are having age profile beyond 50, they generally come with the mindset of doing service, and they feel, okay, I want to do X, I'm able to do X, I will do X. But I think there the main part of marketing being missed out, because it could have gone multifold. And I think where you bring your expertise there. So maybe if I can ask some commitment from you this side, that maybe you will be able to help at least 5 or 7 clubs in the district to do the same way, the way Soul is doing its marketing, or how you have done in the last 7 years.
No, absolutely. And I think being an RC, for you this particular year, and being a ZC, that is a zone chairperson and the region chairperson, where you handle more than 10 clubs are being handled by Gaurav, and 20 odd or probably even more are going to be handled by you. What happens is, what we don't understand the byproduct that we actually have. Today, when we had the announcement of the 10 clubs that Gaurav has under him as a zone chairperson, I asked him, how many Leo clubs do you guys have? And he said, okay, the 10 clubs that are mentioned in my zone, if any of them has a Leo club, that also comes to our zone. When I inquired about it, there are 3 clubs, which is Leo Club of Magnificent Mahavir Nagar, Leo Club of Mumbai Soul, and there's another third Leo Club of Mumbai. And yesterday's awards happened, and Mumbai Soul and Carter Road got the Rising Club President's Awards, and Magnificent Mahavir Nagar got the Best Club Award in the top 3 clubs, and Mumbai Soul got the award for the Most Evolved Club. So automatically, the kind of pedigree of Leoism that you guys are possessing is immense. What I would suggest is, number one, Lions Club of Mumbai Soul, along with all these Leo clubs, doing workshops with all these Lions clubs and stuff, in terms of making them understand the basic due processes in terms of what to do. We will also be letting out a lot of pre-prepared templates that will have no branding. Every single club is free to use them. They can put their logos, they can do the branding accordingly. But just use those things so that you can basically have a social media kit which you can use and you can popularize your own club and the activities that you do. And the third is very simple. We've got 10 clubs and we only have 3 Leo clubs. That basically means 7 clubs don't have a Leo club. So, just might as well tell those guys that, you guys should also start opening up a Leo club. So the amount of mentoring that needs to be done and the amount of advisory that needs to be given can also happen without the presence of RC and ZCs whilst you handle all the other clubs. These guys can basically go out and finish off their responsibilities by teaching people the workshops and probably get some recognitions. Leos love recognitions. They're all kids wanting to grow up, and get the recognitions of the people that are there. And a lot of Leos, because of these sort of offerings, have ended up cracking internships, ended up cracking jobs, even freelancing contracts with a lot of companies that are held and owned by the Lions. So all these things can basically coexist. I think that's the way to go.
Yeah. So, Navdeep, we have discussed it with Gaurav, and we thought there should be more Leo Club, and then we realized that we all will put out onto District Leo Advisor because it is him who has to inspire people to open more Leo clubs. So we look forward to that. And Navdeep, one thing since in the very beginning we discussed that you have done more than 280 episodes, and I believe there would be more than 500 leaders who have come across, and you are an expert in picking up mind. And the good part is when you have someone like you who can summarize 500 leaders' thought in maybe 3 minutes. Two questions, or rather three questions, which are interlinked, but I want to understand from you, not from your own perspective or experience, but what you would have gathered from all these interviews is, I think there are three things which happens very regularly or comes into discussion. And as you pointed out, being in JETC and RC, sometimes it becomes important. One is large club vis-a-vis mid-size or a smaller club. Second is new club vis-a-vis revival of the clubs. And third is retention vis-a-vis new membership, because we see new clubs coming up every year, but then we see there are clubs which are less than 10 members, 5 members. We see that every year we add up around 700-800 members at the district level across. But you see the equal number of members getting out also. We understand there will be relocations or aging issues or some other concern. But somehow these two, and the third, which becomes the foremost, is sometimes you become, and you are on cusp of that. Soul is already touching 180. Does it make sense to have clubs of around 300 plus or 250 plus, where again it becomes too many members to interact, or it's better to have, say, the club stopping getting new members and just ask that okay, why don't you open a branch club, you open a new club? So on three item, I know I'm putting too much into your plate, but in 3 minutes, if you can explain, because I think I have a couple of more questions to go.
Yeah, surely. I think the number of members, I believe, if they're being catered to very well, I don't really think that is a problem. So, for example, one of our clubs that is there in our district called Leo Club Mumbai, Lions Club of Mumbai Western, it has more than 300 members, but it's a culmination of spouses and it's a couple thing. So it automatically becomes a 150 ratio, wherein people have a lot of time to do camaraderie. They are all associated to each other and stuff, and that's how people coexist, and the club is obviously flourishing. To a club like Soul, where we don't have that concept of only having couples or only having a certain fraternity of people being a part of the club. Yes, it does get difficult even after probably 150 number of members, because you're catering to too many number of members. Individual assistance or individual acknowledgements to each of them is extremely difficult, because they are all working professionals, they are all business people, and so are the leadership teams in every single club. That is where I believe the use of tech is extremely important. Use of new programs, things like the buddy clubs or the buddy partnerships in the clubs, or 5 tenure people actually catering to the 5 new ones that have come in and stuff. That kind of membership can be done. Use of technology to send out survey forms, establishing calling teams not only within the micro but outside the micro, and technically working as a team, not only as X number of people are supposed to be in the main team, so they are the only ones who are supposed to work, on the others are not supposed to work. That I believe should basically be out, as a concept. It should just basically be that, everyone's basically a board of director who's technically been with the organization for more than X amount of time. Everyone should have great interactions and stuff. And I believe we've already started that during your time and Gaurav's time. We had every single event where we've seen the Leos aged around 17, 18 dancing along with a 35-year-old guy, and at the same time you have 50-year-old guy who's dancing. Everyone's just basically been culminated and beautifully put together. So I think the concept of specialty clubs working together, come from the same profession and the same background, automatically gets catered to no matter how many members are there. But when it comes to clubs like Soul, which are majority in number, I think these sort of programs should be implemented. And more, I believe, if we start running as an organization rather than just a recreational club, I think all of these things will be much better catered compared to what they are being right now. Because I believe in such setups, we end up playing catch up. If we establish ourselves as an organization where processes technically are governed in the best possible manner, and it's a process driven organization, it automatically caters to everything that's actually going on.
And I think I have enough time to just slip in another question, although I know the answer may need another episode that side. But what is your thought in terms of people doing individual donations, CSR and grant? Because sometimes, as I said, mid-size and smaller size clubs find it very difficult to get the CSR registration, the compliances and all. And if there are not people who are associated with those kind of backgrounds, it becomes challenging. While we all have felt in NGO that CSR has become the talk of the town because technically it's a forced donation or forced spending. So people anyways has to do. They only have to select which option looks better or more reliable, where integrity is there. So your views that how much we should rely on a CSR or a grant vis-a-vis reaching out to individuals, plucking smaller donations for smaller activity, because somehow then there is an emotional connect also with people.
Absolutely, I think all the avenues should be considered, and at the same time, I believe awareness is extremely important. When I talk about awareness, there are a lot more people who, say, for example, you are interested in a pediatric cancer project. You have an affinity towards it. Probably something happened somewhere which inspired you to get into that particular genre, and you wanted to contribute in that particular place. Sometimes it might be a possibility that you are not an expert to that, but another organization is, and they've been doing it since the last 15 years, 20 years at a brilliant level. Might as well just collaborate with them and probably provide them funds or whatever way you can help them across, so that you can end up doing a project which one becomes very scalable and big in number in terms of money. Number two, it becomes an organization, it becomes a project where you impacted a lot more number of people as compared to what you individually would have been able to, because of the lack of expertise probably. But at the same time, say for example, a lot of people have this ability of probably contributing to an old age home because their fathers or their parents or their grandparents used to do the same at that particular point in time. Yes, 100%, that should be accepted too. I don't really believe that I'm ever going to be against the concept of doing a project which is X amount in scale, just because it is not big enough. Because that's not something which service is all about. I believe service should be always about emotion, about how many lives you are able to impact. Yes, usage of CSRs and collaborating with the other organizations is a 100% must, because it's a very simple concept. You and I alone can just basically help X number of people, but then if we've got X amount of funds, we can impact so many more lives, and that is something which can be so much more beneficial to society. But at the same time, the small cute projects that people love to do, like one of our members at Leo Soul loves to do projects with regards to AIDS kids, AIDS affected kids, and it's a very small project. We go out there, we just spend time with them, we just basically draw things with them, we make them dance. Such small projects, but very cute projects. So it's not about the scalability of the project at the end of the hour, but yes, it is also about how you can best create the best amount of impact. So yes, I think both in balance is how an organization should basically run, but not considering the concept of CSR is also something which I don't really believe should be the way to go, because ultimately then all the projects become very monotonous. You're not able to kind of like make an impact, so that corporates also end up looking at you and saying, okay, we've got the money, you conduct the project. To get into that particular kind of position, we need to obviously reach out to CSRs and show them that these are the kind of projects we've been doing, they've been causing so much amount of impact. If you put in X amount of money, our project, which is 3x right now, can probably be 30x. And that's how things are supposed to roll. I think that's my 2 cents on this.
So Rajat, thanks a lot. I think just realized 1 hour has gone and we still have questions to do. So maybe another session some other day once you actually take the metal, and then we ask you that how it you were able to implement it. Good part is you have been not hiding like, okay, I want to do it. Why should I tell people what I'm supposed to do? Other will pick up and all. I'm sure the upcoming leaders who are listening to you, saying that, okay, the youth leadership is coming and trying to do so many changes, implement so many things, even they will get inspired. And guys, you can reach out to me for Navdeep's number and figure out what you need to do, more particularly about the twinning projects. Navdeep, it has been wonderful. While I know, and there will be one question I won't force you to answer, but coincidentally, the question came from two people, the very same question, and both people starts with initial of N and N, and for Nagpur and for Nagpur. And the only question I think which the entire district want to know is when do we get to introduce to Mrs. Navdeep Nikam?
I think
You take your time to keep it for the next episode. I think you will be more prepared with that. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think it was one of those events when Navdeep was able to speak 80% of the times. Uh, and that's good also because we don't get to hear the guy who assembles so much of knowledge but not able to give it because there is no right platform. So it's been a wonderful platform. Keep your comments coming in, and maybe based on your comments, who knows, we can get Navdeep every 3 months. So Navdeep, thanks a lot, and good night, and good night to all our viewers.
thank you, Amit.
So even the show doesn't want to end; they still want to listen to you. So now, should we take the answer now, or should we keep it for next episode? Because I think even the
I think
show
till the time, I think till the time the technical engineer Pradeep guy is just still trying to figure out on how to end the show, I
even
believe.
even he is waiting for the answer.
I think if he's waiting for the answer, then it's going to take some time. So I guess it's time for him to finish off the show because it's been a great one, and honestly, Amit, it's been a fantastic opportunity. Thank you so much for giving me the platform and letting me speak. So thank you so much. Yes, Pradeep, sir, you can wind up.